Despite our similarities, there are some things designed in America that just aren't meant for UK consumption. Supersized food, for example, it just doesn't fit with our appetites. American football, try as we might, we just don't get it. Country music, that never really took off either. And then there's the cars, or more specifically, the trucks. But as we move away from petrol engines and towards electric, could that be about to change? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Ford F-150 Lightning.
Now, first things first, there are no plans as it stands to officially offer the F-150 Lightning in the UK. You'll be able to import one through unofficial channels, but you'll not see one flanked by Focuses and Fiestas in your local dealership anytime soon. This is a 5.9 metre long, 2.1 metre wide and 2 metre tall truck that dwarfs stuff like the outgoing Ranger, the UK's only Ford pickup offering, as well as models like the popular Toyota Hilux. As it stands though, there's just one electric pickup on sale here. It's the Maxus T90 EV, a car we're yet to even have the chance to drive.
But it's not like we've got much context here, so we're going to review the F-150 for what it is, and that is a hulking great 3-tonne truck with room for 5 and, well, space in the back to carry anything you need, bikes, buggies, bricks. But if we dismiss the size for just a minute, we will inevitably come back to that in a moment when we drive the thing. There are a few telltale signs that this is an F-150 not with a great big petrol engine under the bonnet, but instead with 2 electric motors hidden within. The first of those is this huge light bar. The face itself isn't all that dissimilar to the standard F-150, but this light bar is unique. And then there's this. Check that out, a 400 litre frunk. You could fit a whole Volkswagen ID3 boot in there, and it's arguably more useful than the low bed out the back. You've got some underfloor storage for the cables, there's 4 plug sockets and a couple of USBs, and I mean, well, at least you can keep things dry in there. Moving around the side, you've got a charge flap, not what you'd find on a normal F-150, and if this charge connector looks a little bit different, that's because it's the US plug type, so unfortunately it's different to the one we get in the UK. So whilst we've got the truck, no CCS rapid charging. I suppose you could swap it over if you brought one over, but yeah, not ideal as it stands.
Speaking of charging, the F-150 Lightning is available with 2 batteries, either 98 kilowatt hours or 131 kilowatt hours. Neither small, but consider the weight and subsequent efficiency of this thing, and you'll be grateful for ticking the box of the larger of those 2. Doing so should give you a range of between 300 and 320 miles, putting it in and amongst some of the longer range EVs out there. The Maxus we mentioned earlier, 220 miles on a charge. And if we did have the right connector, Ford claims the F-150 will charge at speeds of up to 150 kilowatts, so a 15 to 80% charge takes 40 to 45 minutes. But you're in for a long wait using a home wall box.
Otherwise though, apart from the badges on the side and a couple on the rear, it's pretty much business as usual. The thing that's probably going to turn most heads is the fact that instead of a 6 or 8 cylinder rumble, it makes a slightly different sound.
It's hard to put a price on the F-150, not just because it's not sold here, but also because of things like exchange rates, import costs, that kind of stuff. And that's ignoring the fact that cars in general, especially those designed, built and sold in the States, tend to cost far less than their European equivalents. This F-150 starts at less than $40,000. You can't even get a Chinese-built Maxus for close to that, despite the inferior facts and figures. Granted, a higher spec one like this is almost double that price, but still translates to around £75,000. A lot of car or truck, whichever way you look at it.
It's kind of pointless me talking about how big this low bed is. Chances are, if you've got something you want to put in it, then, well, it's going to fit, isn't it? I've seen huge Harley Davidsons packed back there, and Ford says this thing will carry just over a tonne. And if you're worried about how you'd get to things in the back, well, nice little step there for you. Easy to pack away as well. Some more plugs in the back too. Now, rear seats. Oh, clamber up into the back, and well, there's loads of space back here, at least in terms of knee room. Headroom could be a little bit better, but overall just a real feeling of absolute gigantic space back here. In terms of kind of convenience features, this Platinum model's got heated seats on the 2 outside chairs. You've got some plugs down here, 2 massive cup holders, and just a general feeling of space. You've got 3 seats, so 3 seat belts. Only the outer 2 chairs have got ISOFIX, but
those of you who know the latest Ford F-150 will notice a few differences here in the cabin. The usual screen is gone, replaced by a 15.5-inch portrait touchscreen from a Mustang Mach-E. We like it there, and we like it here. The dials are different though. Instead of the slim panel you'll find in the Mustang, you get a quite conventional looking set of digital instruments. Perfectly usable and configurable, but nowhere near as slick looking.
But then maybe changing too much about this car's cabin would have alienated this car's target audience. I mean, not that long ago, the switch to electric for most F-150 buyers would have been unimaginable, and for many, it still will be. So a conventional feeling cabin is perhaps no bad thing. Quality is a mixed bag, but you expect a vehicle like this to be hard wearing, and to be honest with you, a lot of the materials and plastics used definitely feel built to that kind of standard. But the disappointing thing is that if you look at some of the leathers, the seat here and the gear knob, they're a little bit shiny considering this car has only done 5,000 miles. But I don't suppose that's all that different to any F-150. The driving experience, well, that will be. You see, whilst it looks like an F-150 on top, underneath, it's anything but. Gone is the old leaf spring suspension, replaced by a much more complex setup. Yes, it'll still bounce around with a empty low bed, but it is way more compliant than it used to be. It's quiet, of course it is, you expect it to be, but it's much more refined than anything this big, boxy and bluff-sided has any right to be. And even on the motorway, things stay nice and hushed, and that surprises me because I've driven far smaller electric cars that are less capable of long distance driving. Performance is impressive too. Again, for something with the aerodynamic ability of, I don't know, a London bus, this car's powerful battery and electric motors punch this thing to 60 miles an hour in 4.3 seconds. That's no mean feat, although I do wish there was some kind of eco mode to tame some of that performance, because even in normal mode, I don't know, it's just not that easy to drive smoothly.
One thing that shouldn't be scoffed at is the Lightning's efficiency. Okay, it won't spend all of its life in an urban environment, indeed I'd hope not, but over the 5 miles or so I drove through London last night, the F-150 was returning almost 4 miles per kilowatt hour. That's family car economy. Overall, you're likely to get closer to 2 miles per kilowatt hour, which I suppose isn't half bad given its curb weight.
But back to that London bus analogy, you might expect this thing to handle like one, given the fact that it's almost as tall as it is wide. And of course, if you throw this thing into a corner with no sympathy for what the tyres are capable of, then it will spit you into a field, where, incidentally, I'm sure it would handle just fine because, well, off-roading is an F-150 speciality. But look, I digress. This pickup is better to drive than I had ever expected it to be. Yes, fast flowing roads are easier than tight and twisty ones, and well, you don't want to spend too much time in tight cities and urban places as well as kind of rural villages as well, because this thing, well, it's just huge. But take things easy and it's a perfectly pleasant place to be. It's no great shame that you won't get the chance to buy one of these here in the UK, but ultimately that comes down to how usable it is, or rather how usable it isn't. You're constantly aware of its size. It's left-hand drive only, and that funny plug connector, well, that would make charging on the move a right faff. But to look at it like that would be a bit, well, a bit glass half empty, wouldn't it? There's plenty to like about the F-150 Lightning. It's practical, it's good to drive, it's even got a decent enough range. So no, I'm not disappointed that we're not going to see F-150s clogging up city streets in the near future, but I am excited to see what Ford can and what Ford ultimately will bring to the table in time.
Head to DrivingElectric.com for all the latest electric and hybrid car advice, news and reviews, and check us out on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Finally, while you're here, make sure you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and turn on notifications to ensure you never miss a video.